sleep is so important for all of us, but one of the things I'm sure that you potentially are having difficulty with. So I want you to really settle in, pay attention to what we're going to be talking about here today, okay? So these are two key concepts that I'm going to demonstrate and illustrate on the board. All right, so the first of those two key concepts is something called your homeostatic drive, or how sleepy you feel. Okay, in an oversimplified way, I'm going to try and draw this out. So on this axis, we have how sleepy you feel, and then down here we have the time of the day, okay, morning and afternoon. Now in an ideal world, and I recognize this probably isn't you wake up in the morning and you feel pretty good, you're not very tired. And then over the course of the day, that's kind of what happens until we hit something called our sleep threshold, okay, which is that magical time of night when I'm tired and it's time to go to bed, okay? Now one of the things we got to be so aware of is something called adenosine, okay? It's a chemical that builds up in our brain, and basically what it's doing is providing sleep pressure, okay? It's that thing that kind of tells you, oh, I'm exhausted, I need to go to bed, and it signals sleep, okay? Now adenosine builds up in your brain over the course of the day, okay? So the greatest predictor of your ability to fall asleep is the amount of time that's elapsed since you last slept, okay? I'm going to say that again because it's really important. The greatest predictor of your ability to fall asleep is the amount of time that's elapsed since you last slept, okay? That's the buildup of adenosine in your brain, that chemical that's going to signal it's bedtime, okay? A lot of people will resort to using melatonin for sleep. It's something that's sold over the counter. If you're interested, make sure you talk with your doctor about melatonin. But what melatonin's actually doing is it's signaling your brain that it's nighttime. So it starts the process of your brain getting ready for sleep. It's not actually a sleeping pill, and that's what some people kind of get confused, okay? Now, with our homeostatic drive, we got to be so aware of the different things that are going to throw off the slope of that curve. And one of the biggest culprits is a nap, okay? If I take a nap, what happens is the adenosine in my brain gets washed out the bottom, just like a tub that's filling with water, okay? And what happens is it throws off the slope of this curve entirely. So this is an arbitrary number, but let's say you're trying to go to bed at 10. If you have that nap in the afternoon, you're not tired at 10 o'clock anymore, and you push this back 2-3 hours. So now you're going to bed at 1 or 2 o'clock, okay? Other things that are really bad at knocking off the slope of this curve: energy drinks, caffeine, okay? A lot of people will say, well, you know, I don't drink coffee at night, but I drink tea. Teas, you got to be careful. A lot of the teas will have a significant amount of caffeine in them. Okay, so we got to be aware not to throw off the slope of this curve. Now, one of the reasons, again, that access to sunlight is so important, it kickstarts your brain's production of that adenosine, okay? The other thing is, if you're trying to get some exercise, and exercise is really important, try to do it in the morning as much as you can. Why? Because it actually increases the slope of this curve. More like that. Okay? So if you can avoid having a nap later in the day, you're going to be tired earlier. And that's a good thing. The quality of your sleep likely also is going to improve. This is the second really important topic that we're going to talk about with sleep, and it's something called your circadian rhythm, or your day-night cycle. Okay? Now, I have this in normal in quotations here because, again, normal is different depending on, you know, what our natural sleep cycles are. Some people are you know, the morning people. They enjoy getting up early in the morning and they enjoy going to bed early in the evening. Other people are kind of more geared towards the evening, okay, the larks, the so-called larks. So again, this is in quotation because it's kind of different for everyone. But let's say, you know, I want to go to bed at 10, and I want to wake up at 7. So in a normal kind of sleep pattern, you spend all of this time in sleep. And that's where most people are. Again, the numbers are arbitrary. That's where most of us are until something happens, right? With that chronic pain. Chronic pain, unfortunately, does a really good job of messing with our sleep. And what we actually start to experience with chronic pain is something called fractured sleep. So you go to bed at 10, okay, but you're up an hour later because you're in pain and you need to switch positions, okay? Then it takes you another hour to get to sleep, and you might, you know, get another hour of sleep here, okay, and you wake up because you got to pee. And then you go back to bed, you know, and you might get another hour here. So you can see the difference here. This person is sleeping through the night and getting 8-9 hours of sleep a night. This person, on the other hand, is lucky to get 3 or 4. Okay, so this person wakes up feeling exhausted. So what do? They have a nap in the afternoon. Okay, and what happens is your day-night cycle over a period of time starts to shift. Okay, you're awake at night when everyone else is sleeping, and you're sleeping during the day when everyone else is awake. And that is not a good thing for chronic pain, okay? It can create significant difficulties in relationships, with our jobs, etc. So we gotta be very, very aware of how these two things fit together and how the impact, in particular, of napping can impact those.